The WNBA has a massive problem. It apparently needs meetings to figure out who qualifies to play in their league. The lid began to come off when Sophie Cunningham stepped up and gently questioned whether biological men belonged in women's sports. And then two former NBA players, Cantor Freedom and Hoyce White, announced that they intend to enter the 2027 WNBA draft. They are not serious WNBA prospects. Everyone knows that. What they're doing is stress testing the rules, because the league says that its players must be women, which begs one incredibly obvious question. What determines who qualifies for a women's category? And now the leadership is forced to actually discuss what constitutes transgender eligibility. Now think about that. How ridiculous this whole scenario is. The Women's National Basketball Association has reached the point where it now has to debate the boundaries of the category the entire league was created around. Anybody with a brain in their head knows that this is not about two retired NBA players. It's about what happens when an entire institution, funded to the tune of $20-30 million a year, has built its rules around a definition. A definition it assumed nobody would ever force it to defend. And now somebody has. But I think this is a whole lot bigger than basketball. I will bet you money that this is the straw that broke the camel's back of the woke/DEI era. And ironically enough, this crisis that the WNBA is facing may be that straw. For years, institutions have been adopting ideas about sex and gender without being forced to follow those ideas all the way to their logical conclusions. Women's sports are very different, because eventually somebody has to draw a line. Somebody has to confirm a definition. And that line is, and that definition is, who gets into the women's category and why. Whatever answer, whatever definition the WNBA eventually comes up with, assuming it will even do so, it's going to have huge consequences. They are literally in a corner. If biological sex determines eligibility, an important and defining limit has been placed on gender identity as a whole. If gender identity determines eligibility, then the league has to define how that principle is prevented from being exploited. Ergo, NBA players. There is no slogan. There is no feeling that makes that dilemma go away. And that's why I think this moment is so critical. Not because two former NBA players are going to play in the WNBA. They almost certainly aren't. These men and others have simply forced the argument to its logical conclusion, and they are doing it in the face of every media outlet in the West. And once an institution can no longer avoid defining the very category it exists to protect, the whole conversation changes. I'd say there's a really good chance that we will one day look back at this ridiculous little basketball controversy. I think we will eventually look back at this ridiculous little basketball controversy and realize something very important. This was when something much bigger finally broke